Okay, so we are on the YouTube. Thank you guys for joining the April webinar. Okay, there we go. And hopefully, I think we should have maybe one or two more people hopping on, but I think today we can. I got a whole long list of a bunch of questions that people had, so I'd love to kind of chat over a couple different things with you guys. Some of them are your questions and some of them are from other people. And a lot of things were quite related. So we'll chat about that a little bit. But before that, I wanted to give you guys a quick update on our executive director search, as I'm sure you guys are curious because I'm still here, which is great for now. But I'm going to be staying on board until basically until the position is filled. Or as long as I kind of need to be in order to make sure that it gets filled. Yay. So we, just to give you guys kind of a run through, is that we've received a ton of really, really wonderful applicants for the executive director position to take over all of these lovely webinars and all of, you know, all of the different things that I do, plus a little bit more on the administration end. And it's a very, very hard position to fill because it is somebody who needs to love dance and love what we're doing while also having kind of like a business mindset to what we're doing and trying to grow this organization and keep getting funding and keep getting people on exchanges, getting more chapters on board and everything. So as you can imagine, we're looking for a unicorn out there, but we are in the process of interviewing. We already did one like big round of interviews. And unfortunately, none of those candidates worked out at the end. So we're kind of starting again with the whole process, but this time a lot more streamlined because we know what we're doing this time, which is really nice. And so I hope that we will have somebody officially confirmed within the next 2 months. Should be happening. So obviously we will keep you guys all informed. And I'm hoping that I can do end of semester Skypes with me and also with the new executive director, depending on the timeline. So I know last year our end of semester calls usually happened like end of April, early May. They might happen a little bit later this year just so that if we have somebody who we're training or we have somebody who we're thinking about hiring, that they can be on those end of semester Skypes as well, so that you guys can meet them and, you know, so it's not just starting off fresh with a new executive director at the start of the school year. Other to do is that we have our leadership conference again this summer. We're going to do online just like last summer. I think it was a really great way to get a lot of the, yay, hey Emma.
Hi.
Yay, perfect. I was just talking a little bit about the executive director position and how we will hopefully have somebody in about 2 months. And on top of that, that we have a leadership conference coming up this summer, and depending on timing with you guys, depending on timing with new AD, depending on my timing, it'll either be like June or August. So June, if it's in June, it'll probably be with me and the other person. But if it's in August, then it will be with our new ED. But also very exciting for the leadership conference is other updates is that we have started an advisory board for Movement Exchange. So we have about 10 people on the advisory board who are past Movement Exchange, dance diplomats, attended exchanges, started chapters, were super involved in a lot of different ways. And essentially our idea behind the advisory board is that they're going to be able to help us kind of lead the direction of Movement Exchange, get more ideas about how we're moving forward with Movement Exchange and all that stuff. And so, yeah, our advisory board is going to be helping with all of this transition. And we're hoping that our advisory board will also be able to do a couple of guest lectures at our leadership conference so that you guys can hear from them, whether it's about, you know, their own projects that we have going on. We have a couple of people who are doing like dance and movement therapy, so they can talk about their process of, what they're learning in school, how they applied to the program, all that kind of stuff. We also have a couple of people who are more into like the business side of it and who can help with like business and delegation, which I know a lot of you guys asked about, and some other kind of, business, how to run your chapter like a business kind of deal. So we have executive director updates, end of semester call updates, advisory board / leadership conference updates. And the last thing is that we have just started, I'm not sure, all of our Movement Exchange alumni have gotten it to their email. So I think Chanel, you might be the only person who hasn't received it, but just because we send it to everybody who's been on an exchange, is that we have a whole document, a Google Sheet, an editable Google Sheet where people can put their current location and email. And so I'm just going to share it really quick so you guys can see this. This is available. I'm going to post it on the chapter president's page. But basically, we're trying to create a directory of all of our Movement Exchange alumni. And so what we're hoping is that we can see all of these people are kind of in different places. But I know like Bloomington, if we get a couple of alumni together in Bloomington or in New York City or in Washington, D.C. or Chicago, where I know there's a couple of alumni, we're hoping to do like a networking event with alumni in your area. So if you end up being in an area where there's a ton of alumni, then hopefully this summer or maybe early fall, we'll be doing networking events so you guys can meet other dance diplomats who are in your area. In addition to this, this is also a resource for you guys. So if you see, if you want to talk to Dana about her work as a PhD student in anthropology, or if you want to talk to Nick about being a musician and a creative consultant, you can also see on here and get their emails, get their locations, see what they're up to, and kind of see what the rest of the MoveX world is doing. So this is a resource that is available to you guys. Also, we would really love for you guys to send this off to your maybe graduating seniors for this semester. So anybody who's graduating this year, so you guys can put all of that info on here and we can kind of see who is going where, and so we have everybody's updated emails. Do you guys have any questions about anything that I've just said? No? Okay, cool. Well, I hope that was something that the advisory board came up with. Yay, go advisory board. So I'm hoping that, yeah, this can connect some more Movement Exchange dance diplomats across the US. Yes, okay, so let's get started with this bulk of the webinar. So basically, I had you guys fill out the Google form. Thank you guys for filling that out. And I wrote down all of the questions that people wrote on here. So I'll go through about as many as I can. There were some that were a little bit overlapping, so I might skip a few, but hopefully you'll get your answer regardless. So the first question, and I wanted to start with this one very specifically, is from Maeve and Madeline from University of Cincinnati. And they asked, I would love to hear why everyone has made a commitment to Movement Exchange and why dance diplomacy is important to them. I think this is a really fantastic thing to start off with because I hope that everybody can continue to be inspired by Movement Exchange, even if you have midterms coming up, even if you're still running on that high from spring break and don't want to do any work or whatever it may be. But I think it's really important. It's something to come back to about why we love Movement Exchange and why we're putting in these extra hours and extra efforts for dance diplomacy. Oh, also say your name and anything else that you want to say about yourself. Everybody can start. Yeah, you're muted, Maeve, but thank you for always volunteering.
Okay. My name is Maeve, and I am from the chapter at University of Cincinnati. And yeah, I asked that question because it's just really inspiring to hear why other people have gotten so involved with movement exchange. And I got involved because it was kind of like a no-brainer for me because I've always been involved in service, and then it was like dance service. It just seemed really obvious for me to join. But then once I got involved, it was kind of like a whole new world for me because I had never considered dance diplomacy before and like what I could do with dance outside of pursuing it as a professional career. And it was really inspiring for me, especially after going on the Panama trip and kind of seeing what I could do in dance and the connections I could make and the idea of creating social change using something that I'm already so passionate about. So yeah, that's why I asked that question. I would love to hear what everyone else thinks about that.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for sharing, me. Emma, Chanel.
I can go ahead and go next. Sorry, I sound like a duck. I've been sick this week. Yeah, so I'm Chanel from the chapter at University of California, San Diego. It was just really random how it happened upon the org. But what drew me to it was the fact that I would get to be teaching, because that's something I did previously before I transferred to UC San Diego. But then like I stuck around after like the GBM once I heard what it was that we would be doing, working in populations where I've come from, or like especially when it was working with foster youth, because my nephews, or I have a nephew and a niece now that one's still currently being fostered, the other one's adopted. Love them very much. Yeah, that's kind of like why I like joined, and then why I stuck around initially, and now I'm still here. This time later, it's because I didn't really see, like, I didn't know how deep something like this could go. So it's just been really interesting just to see how, like, where you could take this idea. Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I didn't know that. Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma, and I'm from the Indiana University chapter. And I first got involved with Movement Exchange. So I came to IU as a dance major. I'm still a dance major, but was introduced to the club like from dance majors that were involved. And like the first meeting I went to, a lot of them just discussed like their experience going to Panama, and I like immediately was just like, wow, I really want to be a part of that. And so I ended up going the year afterwards, and that experience really was just life-changing for me. Like realizing how much dance like can establish a connection with people that you don't know and don't even speak the same language as. Because like having been a dancer my whole life, dance was always something that I just like did, and like I considered a part of like who I am. But like using it as a tool to really like get to know other people was very different for me, but like a whole new world. So that's really made an impact on me. And then getting involved in local outreach also, and like the local workshops we do in Bloomington, and like being involved with those kids and their lives has also really just like made me want to stay and continue working in movement exchange.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I mean, I think much like you guys, I also found out about movement exchange very randomly and was immediately inspired by what we're doing, because there's not too many other places out there in the world that are combining dance and service and international travel and cross-cultural understanding and community development, like so many other things that like go into what is movement exchange, and you can pick out all of those pieces that really resonate with you. So I mean, why I started with movement exchange is because kind of like Maeve, like I was a dancer my whole life and I never really knew what dance could do, and combining it with service was something that really opened up my eyes to something totally new. And obviously I've been in the movement exchange game for a long time, and I think now more than ever, why I've stuck around with movement exchange is much because of you guys. Because of the work that you guys are doing back home, and the inspiring work that you guys are doing in your own communities, and also how it's affected you all as people, as individuals. I've seen so many chapter presidents grow and develop and gain new skills in leadership and delegation and goal setting and all of these other things that I think are really going to benefit all of you guys in the next chapter of your lives. So I also wanted to share that, and thank you guys for sharing why you're involved in movement exchange, because it's really exciting for me to hear too. So with that being said, I would encourage you guys to ask your chapter members this question. I think it's a really fantastic question, not only for you as chapter presidents to be aware of why people are involved in this and what they want to get out of it, but at the same time, it's also nice to hear why people are a part of this, and hopefully it'll inspire you and it will inspire them. Sometimes we also kind of forget why we're involved with it sometimes, so we need to be asked that question as well. So I think the same goes for your members. So now down to the nitty-gritty questions. Hey, that was a fun one, but now we'll get into the good stuff. So a lot of you guys asked about delegation and being able to efficiently utilize a team. So there's about, let's see, 2 questions about this that are basically saying the same thing. Emma and Victoria from St. Louis University and Maeve also asked a form of this question, but essentially, how are you guys delegating your tasks, and what have you found to be efficient when delegating tasks to other members? If anybody has an answer to that question.
So I asked a form of this question because I do have some issues with delegation, but one of the things that I've been really successful with this year was really trying to fit the position that the person was in to their skill set, which has worked really well for the most part. Like my social media person, like I already knew she was super active on social media and was really good at it. So like, just as an example, she did an awesome job this year of like posting weekly, and so like I was really successful doing that because I figured if somebody was already good at something or interested in something, they would be more likely to keep up with the position and do their job. But the form of the question that I asked is, I have a couple people where I'll like, they have a job and then they won't do it and they'll say that they're busy, and I don't always know how to respond like appropriately to that question, because I want movement exchange to be something that's fun for them and they want to keep involved in, but then I also feel like they need to be reminded that they made a commitment to it. So that's where I struggle with it, is every once in a while I'll have someone like not really doing their job, which means that I have to do it basically. And I want to respect the fact that they're busy, because I know what that's like I'm really busy too. But also kind of remind them that it is their job to like get this stuff done.
Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on that part of it, that aspect of it?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I found helpful is making sure that it's something that they're interested in or will help. Like, because a lot of people are probably the same at all universities, but a lot of people are like, oh no, like this is going to help me with such and such in my career path. So yeah, it's either something like a task, or maybe there's like a meeting to go and get some funding, or like a community partner, those kind of things that you think somebody would be interested in talking them to for not just on behalf of the organization, but it's something they can get out of it for their own like personal benefit too. So for example, like we have somebody that's really interested in like child development, like psychology, and we're trying to set up a meeting with this president of this organization that does something like that. And so kind of to inspire like the next round of leaders for this next year. That was kind of part of our mission. And so like we invited her to attend, and then we just kind of let them kind of take it from there.
Yeah. Natural
Yeah.
transition.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yes, natural transition of board members. So I think this is kind of twofold, right? So one aspect of it is delegating and making sure that people are doing their jobs and kind of, you know, actually finding a role that fits in with them. And I really like that you guys are thinking about what people are good at and what will ultimately benefit them, right? So like if I know I'm not a numbers person, or you know that somebody's not a numbers person because however reason, maybe they shouldn't be a treasurer. And then, so I like that you guys are already thinking about that. And I think that's a really wonderful thing to keep in mind for board transitions and getting new e-board members on for next year. And I think the second part of the dilemma, the delegation dilemma, as Maeve was saying, is actually making sure people follow through with these kinds of things, right? So I think a really good like precautionary step is giving them a job that they really would want to do. And then that kind of like reactive step of like, oh wait, they're not actually doing their job. What do we do now? And so Maeve, I think you actually like in a way answered your own question because you said, you know, that everybody else is too busy to do their job, but you're too busy yourself as well, right? So I think some people know that you're going to be there as the backup person, which is very, very noble of you. And I would totally do the exact same thing. And I know because I do it all the time. But I think at the end of the day, it's also a really like honest conversation of, hey, I also don't have time. So when you don't do these things, not only do I have to do it, but I lose sleep over this. That takes time out of my busy weekend. This adds things onto mine. So I would rather you tell me straight off the bat that you won't be able to do it like way ahead of time rather than, you know, just leaving it till the end when I have to scramble as well. That's only fair to you. So I think also just being really open and honest about that, you know, when they don't do things, of course, like you love this organization as much as I do, and you'll like go and yes, you'll lose sleep over it, but that's not something that you want to do or that you should be doing. So I think part of it is, yeah, letting them know that like when things don't happen, then it ends up falling on you, and you also don't have time, and that people should be respectful of chapter president's time as well. And I think the second part of it, I feel like people should also be setting their own, either there's two ways I look at it for like goal setting and delegation, right? Is either you can say, okay, we have to do this, do X, Y, Z, X, you do, X, you do, X, you do, whatever, right? So you very much delegating the tasks. But what if you kind of flip it on its head and say, hey, you know, what do you think your goals need to be for this week? Like here, we've talked about all of our ideas for, you know, what we want to accomplish in the next month or something, or at your next executive board meeting. Setting those goals like, hey, what do you guys think we need to accomplish this month? Like, what are your goals and ideas for this month? And saying, okay, does this incorporate some sort of fundraising in it? Does this incorporate somebody on social media? Does this incorporate our vice president or secretary? Okay, great. So now you guys think about like what goals you would set for yourself in order to make this happen. Because I think, and realistic goals as well, right? So I think when people are setting their own goals, they're a little bit more mindful of what time, commitment, and resources they have on their own. And at the same time, I feel like they'll also, I mean, hopefully feel a little bit more guilty if they don't get it done, right? I don't know if that would actually work, but that's my thinking on it. Do you guys have any other thoughts on this one? No? Okay. I hope that might be a good way to work through it as well. And I think I've mentioned this before of doing like the brainstorming clouds of with your goals of like, here's our one big goal and then branching out and seeing like who kind of comes up with what and deciding who can do it that way. Yeah, and I hope that people, don't call you bossy either. That's what Maeve wrote in her thing too. But I think people just need to be respectful of everybody's time, not just their own, because everybody's busy, especially the chapter president. And Victoria wrote that too. She said, how do you make sure the rest of the e-board is accomplishing their job/tasks without being bossy? But I think having people, I'm thinking like, I keep thinking of Inception, of like when it feels like it should be people's like own ideas, then they're like more willing to do it, right? Yeah. Any other thoughts on delegating and being more efficient? Emma, the second half of your question was, what's a good way to lay out expectations for members at the start of the semester? So I think this is also a really good way for delegating, but also obviously doing it in a way that lays it out really, really well. So does anybody else have any sort of advice on how to lay out these expectations for members at the beginning of the year?
Go ahead.
Okay. So at our chapter, I think we do a good job of laying out the expectations at the beginning of the school year. I printed out, I think there's an agreement, there's like some sort of contract that you have on your end. So I used those, and then I added like specific things to our chapter about like what their position would entail. And then I think they signed it, and I think they might have even kept it for themselves, but it was just like a way so that they could have something on paper that says like, yes, I'm committing to this, and this is what I'm supposed to do. Where I think I probably could have done better is like, we didn't really bring that back up again. Like we looked at it in the beginning of the year, and that was like it. We didn't really bring those back. So if there's a way maybe to kind of like incorporate that through some meetings through the rest of the year, just to like as a reminder maybe, but that's how we set it up in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think that's why we have that in there, is so that people can like review and look over really what they're kind of signing on to. But I think it's a good idea to, bring it up throughout the year, maybe at the end of your first semester or like right before winter break or something, and then right at the beginning of the spring quarter again, or spring semester, right after winter break, of like bringing it up again, either one, maybe both, just to be like, okay, so is everybody still cool with like what we expect? I know we're starting a new semester or quarter or whatever it may be, and your schedules might have shifted, but here are, still what you signed on to. If anybody doesn't think that they're able to accomplish this, let me know. We'll figure something out. But better you guys tell me now rather than, us having to scramble later in the year. So yeah, I think using that and also bringing it back up throughout the year. I know like with very, very like official employee contracts, right? Like you get a copy if you sign it, and your contractor gets a copy. So the company that you're working for gets a copy of it too, right? So maybe you guys both have copies, and you're like, look, you signed this thing. That would be a little, I don't know if I would actually do that. Be like, you signed this paper and you're not doing your job. But it is a good way to have it be a reminder of like, okay, yeah, here's what you signed on to. I don't know if this doesn't, Emma, you had another thought on this one, right? I want to let you talk before I keep going.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about like, because I mean, I've only been the president for this spring semester because Kira had to leave in the middle because she's studying abroad. And just something that I've noticed is that like, and like we've always kind of run it, like our chapter, pretty casually. Like we try not to like require too much of people, I think. But like being in this position, I feel like that doesn't work very well. Like, because then things don't get done, and like we have a big problem with communication. Like there are multiple times where I've had to just like cancel our meetings because people like aren't showing up.
Yeah.
Like they would tell me like, I don't know, the day of, which I understand, like things totally like come up all the time, and like, you know, like things happen. But like I tried really hard to make like a set schedule, because in the past like it's kind of been like all over the place too with like a day and time. So I was like, okay, like every other meeting or every other week it'll be like group meeting, and then it'll be exec meeting, so alternating. And like there just have been multiple times where people like haven't told me that they can't be there, and so then I just like don't know how to get people to communicate better with me, because I've tried to be like, okay guys, like you need to tell me, so I'm not like sitting around waiting for you and then like no one's showing up. So it kind of just like, and we haven't laid out, I don't think, expectations ever, and I think that's something that we need to do in the future, because I don't think people are fully aware of what their jobs actually are and like their commitment to this group, because then it's like all just being put on the back burner.
Yeah, for sure. I think with you guys, it might be good to like hit a restart button of like, okay, here's the things that like, I know like getting everybody together will probably be the hardest part of that. But at the end of the day, maybe you can also like have 2 meetings. Like I know I've done that with chapter presidents before of like, okay, here's option number 1, here's option number 2, like come to both. I know Doodle really, really helps with that, of just figuring out when people are actually busy, and of course, or when they are free. And hopefully that means that, they will actually come if they say they're free at that time. That's the hardest part, I know. But maybe even just saying like, hey, like we really, really need to get together just to chat about these things. We can buy pizza, like whatever it may be, like get food. Food always brings people together. Somehow yeah, maybe if you guys have any fundraising money, like use it to buy pizza so that, it's free pizza for everybody or something like that, just to bring people together. But I think just hitting a restart button, and same thing kind of as Maeve of like, okay, when things don't get done, it like falls on all the presidents. So we want to kind of hit the refresh button, figure out how much of a commitment you guys can really make to this, and move forward from there. Yeah. Do you guys have any other suggestions, Chanel or Maeve, for that one?
I don't have a suggestion yet. It's just like something I've been running into as well. Because same with Emma, I've only recently assumed this position as a co-president, and now Shanti's gone, so does that, and studying in DC. But yeah, so we've tried both options too, like moving meetings around based on people's schedule. It's impossible. And we've tried having set schedules, and then like nobody ever tries to work around. Same issue as Emma said. People will tell me a couple hours after meeting ended.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're still trying to figure out how to do that as well, because we don't want to frighten people. Like we'll try to lay out expectations, like, hey, this would be really great if you could, but yeah, we're also still want to have everybody like up to their expectations, but also not scare them away. And so I don't know, we're still trying to find that balance too.
Yeah, I think it is a balance that comes with time, especially if like the past couple of quarters, past couple of semesters or so have been a little wishy-washy. It's like, okay, how do we rebuild this culture of like, no, we actually have to make these meetings happen and things. So maybe with the start of the new school year, I think setting out really clear expectations of these things. It's like if you miss, like even for the advisory board, for example, we said At the beginning of our time with the advisory board, we said if you miss 3 advisory board calls in a row, then, you know, we're automatically kicking you out. Like, that's how it is, like, because we're counting on you guys to be a part of this. So I think even not necessarily threatening, but setting up those really clear expectations of, like, you know, if you miss 3 meetings in a row, like, that's it, because we need you, and you guys are all committing to this, and, you know, if it doesn't happen, then it falls on our plates. So I think being clear with those expectations at the beginning of the semester, and then saying, oh, you missed 3 meetings, like, what's going on? And obviously, like, don't necessarily just kick them out right away. Just be like, hey, what's going on? You haven't been involved. Like, want to make sure everything's okay. Do you still want to be a part of this? You not, and moving forward with it from there. But I think even just laying out those expectations at the beginning. I wanted to quickly show you guys how, because with Movement Exchange on a national level, obviously it's me pretty much doing everything right now, but Anna, the founder of Movement Exchange, like, oversees a lot of things that I'm doing. And I think how we plan our year will actually be really helpful for you guys in setting goals for, like, you don't have to do it for the entire year, but setting goals for each semester. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. Okay, so I don't know how well you guys can actually see this because it's kind of small. I'll zoom in a little bit. Actually, I want to show you guys. No, I'll zoom in. It's okay. This is a lot more extensive than what yours will probably be, but essentially have it laid out into, like, sections like outreach, fundraising, chapter development, program management, Panama, US, other, right? And so maybe your categories could be president, vice president, marketing director, fundraising director, like, setting it out into those things. And essentially we have, like, our overall goals, which you guys will see that I haven't quite gotten to them yet. But like, we set our goals at the beginning, and there's 4 goals. Like, for an entire year, we have 4 goals. That's it for an entire year. So I think breaking your goals down into smaller things of, like, okay, here's, you know, the goals that we want to accomplish, and then breaking those down by month. So what are those things that you have to do year round? So what are those things that you have to do every month, every week? Social media posts, monthly board, general body meetings, or whatever it may be. And then breaking it down month by month, right? So, you know, in September, you'll probably have to do your involvement fair. And in December, maybe you have a final, you know, pizza party before finals week or something. And then September and October, or October and November, you do, you know, weekly dance classes at X location. But breaking down your goals in this format, pretty much as small as possible. So for example, like, one of my goals would be post on alumni page about early bird discount, right? Like, that probably takes me 5 minutes, but that's on there. So even just, like, breaking them down into the smallest possible task. And then on Google Forms, Google Sheets, you can actually assign things to people. So if you insert a comment, I can say at UC Movement Exchange, which still says Brenna Sweeney, but I can assign it to a person. So you can actually put a comment in there and click assign. I won't do it that to you, Maeve. But, you know, so then you're actually, like, figuring out who's going to do what. And now that you guys are, like, bringing all of these things in, and maybe even before you fill this in, you talk about, you know, what would you guys do? Or, like, set your own goals for these months, thinking about, you know, these overall goals. So that might be a good way to just, like, organize some of your goals. Thinking about how you can actually organize things that will help the delegation process and help everybody be really clear on what's expected of them. Yeah. Let's see. Other questions on delegation? Okay. The last question that's kind of related to this is, does anybody have an Instagram posting schedule? No? So, oh, go ahead.
I don't know like the specifics. Sorry, you can go ahead.
Go ahead, Chanel.
I know we had a person on our Instagram. She's flaked last quarter, and just like the middle of it. So our marketing team is kind of divided. They have like one person posting something on Monday, one person on Wednesday, one person on Fridays. So I don't think it's just solely on Instagram, but like across the social media, they've divided it by days like that.
For sure. Emma?
Our social media person, I don't think she posts every week. But she like definitely, like, she always asks me like when you send out the like banner information and like things to like update on Facebook on the Facebook page, like she always like posts those things and like updates our page. She posts something on Instagram. She'll post things like if we have an involvement fair. She also tried to do something where it was like throwback something of like all of our members, like, you know, when they were younger or whatever. So I wouldn't say it's been every week, but she's like definitely like tried to keep up and like do different things throughout the semester or the school year.
Cool. So I have 3 very, very, very useful things for you guys. Facebook publishing tools, Hootsuite, and good old Google Sheets. So I'll show you Google Sheets before. So I do all of the social media for Movement Exchange, and I am not thinking about those posts every day. No way in heck, because it gets really overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, I have to post another thing on Instagram, right? And of course, if you have somebody like UC who, University of Cincinnati, who has somebody who really likes it, then it's not so bad. But I personally don't really like it that much, but it has to get done. And if I don't do it, nobody will. So I've done a lot of different tools for myself that will hopefully help this. So I will show you first what I use to schedule posts, or at least to like draft up my posts. Again, I will share my screen. And I think this is something that you guys can do as a group, because sometimes it gets really hard to think of new things to post on Instagram. So basically, I write all of them out here. So sometimes I'll like go through my pictures and make a whole folder of potential pictures, and then I'll base the captions off of that. Or sometimes I'll do the caption first and then find a picture that works for it, right? So I'll write all of them out in here, and I have it marked off throughout the week, so Sunday through Saturday. And then I even put like, okay, this is going to be scheduled on Saturday, March 2nd at noon. So you can even like schedule it out by time. And what I do even before this is that with Movement Exchange, we have certain days that we like to use, right? So we always do MoveX Monday. We like TBTs. We do chapter spotlights on Saturdays. So even before I go in and put all of my comments or my captions in, I actually do, let me see if I have examples down here. Like I have MoveX Monday blocked out on every Monday. I have Testimonial Tuesday blocked out on every Tuesday. We have Panama Post. We have chapter spotlights, right? So we have all of these things laid out until August. So this is something that you can do at the very, very start of the semester with your entire executive board. And you can, pick out what captions you want to do. You guys can brainstorm different caption ideas, different hashtags all together. And then what I do, let me see if this will show to you guys. It will not. So let me, you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, cool. Let me share this. Is then I actually go onto my desktop, social media, to post, and then these are the dates. So I actually have like 0408, April 8th, April 9th, April 11th, April 13th. Like these are all things that you're going to be seeing on Movement Exchange's Instagram on these dates, so that it actually like you can label these pictures so that it's less time consuming to be like, oh, I don't remember what picture we were going to use for this caption. It's all already right there with naming all of your files. And then what do you actually do with these? So Facebook, I recommend a combination of two things. First off, Facebook publishing, because you can schedule posts. You can schedule an unlimited amount of posts on Facebook. You guys will see my Facebook. So even if I just go to Move and Exchange's Facebook, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. I like going to the publishing tools up here. And then you can see if it loads. Over here on the left, it says published posts and scheduled posts and drafts. So you can even draft things. So you can go to a schedule, like your scheduled post. You can see I don't have any scheduled posts right now. But if I go to create, I can add in my post like I normally would. And then I can click here and click schedule, and I can pick the date and the time that it will post. So then, you know, it's not like, oh man, I have to post today. No, it's like already gonna post for you. You get a notification when it gets posted, and it's super awesome. Unfortunately, directly on the Instagram app, you can't schedule any posts, but Hootsuite, you can create a free account, and you can schedule up to 30 posts for free. So that's why I like doing a combination of Facebook and Instagram, because Hootsuite would count like one picture and caption going to Facebook and Instagram as 2 posts. So now I can actually do 30 posts for Instagram at a time. So it's super, super easy. You go to your dashboard, you go to Publisher, and you just click this little green button up here, and you can do your entire post right here as well. It will load in a second, I hope. Yeah, so you just click you select your social media network. I always do Instagram. And then you can enter your caption, you can drop your file for a picture, you can add a location, and you can schedule for later, right? So this will hopefully solve all of your scheduling Instagram and Facebook posts, so that, you know, people don't have to worry about keeping your Instagram up to date. And I think even with working with like something like this, where you guys are setting your goals, a part of this can also be like with your social media goals, right? So say, you know, this was social media. You can actually say, okay, October, we need to, you know, we need to post whatever, social media about our upcoming exchange. That's a really not great example, but like very much also tailoring these goals to like what you guys need to do on your actual social media. One other thing that I forgot to show you guys with this like strategic breakdown that I have here is that I also break it into months. So I take all of the goals that are here and I break it down month by month, week by week. So I'm actually setting goals for myself, and you guys can do this as a team of like what tasks actually need to be done each week. So I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller so you guys can see it. But for September, for example, September 3rd through 7th, 10th through 14th, 17th through 21st, like I actually break it down week by week. And then I go through and at the start of the month, I haven't done mine for April yet, and I haven't updated this yet, but like this is March. These are all in progress. Orange was in progress, yellow is to do, and then green is completed. So you can also track what goals are actually getting accomplished or not. So that is all of my suggestions for social media and goal setting and how to keep it tracked and organized. Yes. Would you guys find it helpful if I made templates for you guys of something like this? Yes? Okay. And for the social media stuff? Yes. Okay, great. I will do that for you guys. Let me make a note to myself before I forget. Social media and goal planning templates. Okay, I will get that done for you guys on Monday because I'm excited about it. Cool. So questions, comments, concerns, thoughts on that? No?
It's more of just a comment, but I really like that calendar that you just showed us with like the goal setting. That was really cool. I think that would be really helpful. And then like to be able to like assign it to somebody so that they get the notification. Like that seems really helpful.
Awesome. Great. I will do that one for sure. Yay. Great. Other comments?
Just huge thank you.
Yay. Wait, I don't know why I've been using this all year and last year, so I'm kind of bummed that I didn't show this to you guys before, but whatever, that's okay. On to next year. Yes, yay, I'm glad you guys like it.
Thank you, Adele. That will be very helpful.
Well, I will for sure. I'm so excited I might do it this weekend. Awesome, I'm glad you guys like it. I know we're like running out of time a little bit, but we still had a few more questions. Basically, let me ask this pretty generally so that we can encompass a few different questions with this. But do you guys have any suggestions for like exchange planning or exchange preparation? Like how do you actually plan your exchanges? What are your suggestions for not necessarily recruitment, because I know that's another question, but say you have a group of like confirmed 10 people or however many people, how do you communicate all of the kind of to-dos and everything? Anybody?
I feel like I'm still kind of working on this one, but I usually communicate through email. Like I'll forward something that you've sent out and just be like, pay attention to this deadline's coming up. I also have like a text group of the people who are going on the trip, and we'll communicate in there about what they need to be doing or what flights they're getting on. And then now that, because our exchange is coming up in May, we're starting to kind of get our like actual planning. Like we're gonna have a meeting where we can work on some Spanish phrases for them and to set up their curriculum for like while they're there. But I don't know. I feel like I still kind of need to work on exchange planning a little bit, but
it's always a process, for sure. But I think, yeah, email communication, I try to, as much as I can, email everybody, but I think forwarding all of the like important info on to people. This is actually a really, really wonderful question. Is how can we, aka people who have, I know not everybody here has been on an exchange yet, but how can we as people who have been on exchanges communicate the exchange experience to people interested in the program? Because it's a weird thing it's very hard to explain, actually.
Yeah, I feel like the experience is actually very inexplicable. It's like I can't really tell how much it actually impacted me and meant to me. The thing that I emphasize the most is just like the connection that I made with everyone that I met in Panama. But because we actually had IU does this thing called First Thursdays. So like the first Thursday of every month, the Arts and Humanities Board like has people like set up like information tables and like groups on campus like perform a little bit. So yesterday we had the last one of the school year and like MoveX, like we had a table. And I was like, I didn't prepare super well for it, but what I ended up like pulling up to like have on display was the Movement Exchange website, and like your guys' banner right now is the video that was made from the exchange that I went, and like I was watching it and I feel like that video really shows like the range of things that happened and that we did on that exchange. Like there's like us just like traveling to and from places and like being in class with the kids, and then when the leotards were presented from Misty Copeland like to the children, and then the performance itself. So I feel like showing video evidence could be really helpful to people, like this is what it looks like to be on an exchange, like these are the types of things that you could be doing, because like everyone in the video, like it's not like the video was staged at all, like those are all real experiences, and you can see like the pure joy on people's faces. So I feel like maybe visual elements could really help when explaining what an exchange is like.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed 100%. So we actually have a couple of resources for you guys on our YouTube. One being the video that Emma's talking about. That's our cover banner on our website. But I think visual evidence, photos and videos are really awesome. I remember when I first heard about movement exchange, I was like, I don't really know what this is. It sounds really sketchy. It might rip me off. But I went on the website and I looked at all the pictures. So we used to have like a big photo album, which we don't have anymore. But our YouTube has all of our videos from past exchanges, from testimonials. So we actually have a playlist with all of our international dance exchanges. So like LMU, Brazil, this was UT Austin, UCSD, WMU, Southern Methodist. So if you guys are curious, like about maybe you don't have a video of one of your chapter's exchanges, but I think especially some of these recent ones are, really good that show the experience. We also have, this is the one that's on our website, is our main video right here. But we also have like testimonial videos or about movement exchange. Oops. So this is where we have all of our videos, like the one from the website is here. We have a really like short video that's like 49 seconds that you guys could actually put on your Instagram. We have testimonial videos. We have an older video that introduces movement exchange. That was also like a nice clips from one of our annual shows. So there's a ton of like video footage on here that you guys can totally use. Yeah. Any other suggestions for sharing the experience? Because because it is something that I, even as much as I talk about movement exchange, it's definitely something that is still really hard to put into words. Any other suggestions? Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Alyssa.
So, first of all, sorry, I joined super late. But so what I found that really shows like the bond that we create in Panama was like when other people that have been on the exchanges come to meetings, and we like watch the videos together, and we just like talk about like what we did, and like I think it shows like a really strong connection between all of us that people will like gravitate towards.
Yeah, kind of recreating those feelings. And I think I would love to see people do, I don't know how much people do this. I think UCI did this or something. But doing like a 1 week after, like a dinner party where you look back through all the photos and videos of what the experience was like, and maybe even catching some of those moments on film, right? It's like a week later of like, what still resonates with you a week later? Like, what are those feelings that still resonate with you? And I think even capturing those moments on film of like, okay, like we're not in Panama anymore. Like we're not even in the country where we're doing all the service and everything, but these things still come up for me. So I'd be really curious to see some of that kind of stuff. I didn't get through all of the questions, obviously, but does anybody have any burning, dying questions that I didn't answer? Yeah. Oh, Chanel, go ahead. I think you're Muted.
Okay, cool. So we've had, as you know, like a really tough time with recruiting for the international exchanges as well. And so I was just curious to hear how all of the other chapters ease the minds, because like the first worry for all of our people interested are, how am I going to get the money? So I was just wondering how the rest of you work through that with everybody, so then they don't end up dropping out.
Great question. Any thoughts on this one?
We applied for grants through the school, so we can do, if it's your first time, you can apply for like a summer grant, and they get usually about like 1,000-ish. And then we also apply for a group grant together, and then we usually get like 50-ish to 75-ish. And then we also do fundraising throughout the year, which doesn't really like, it's not like a lot of money, but it's still something. But also, we also have a lot of trouble recruiting, so you're not alone.
Yeah, we've tried to do like fundraising together as a group, and so that way we're all like working together. But then it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Oh, I'm too busy to do this, blah blah blah. And so then it's like, do you okay. Yeah. So I've been to a point where I'm just like, I'll sit down, like I will work through a financial plan with you, like we're gonna get this done, like I want to have you experience this. Then they're still so on the edge, and then they fall to the direction where they just end up not going.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah, it is. I know. I definitely. I mean, I see this on an even bigger scale than you guys. To be quite honest, we have like hundreds of people who apply to exchanges, and we get between like 80, 90 on exchanges throughout the entire year. So we also have a pretty, it's that hard kind of turnover, right? But I think what has helped a little bit is talking about success stories. So obviously newer chapters and chapters who are just getting started or haven't sent that many people on exchanges, or maybe people who chapters that don't have a lot of like financial resources outside of within their university. But we had people who have literally like babysat on Saturdays to get their funding. Like there's little things that you can do to give yourself that financial stability. So maybe that means giving up a Saturday night of going out when you'd probably be spending money that could be, put towards your exchange. But you'd be babysitting or something like that to, really go on this exchange. We've also had people who have worked a second job. Like I know that's not what people want to do necessarily, but if they really want to go on this exchange, it's not out of the question. Like there's definitely things that, you can do a little bit on the side, whether it's babysitting, tutoring, walking dogs. Like there's all these like little things where you can add to your own income to make that happen. So I think encouraging people to look for like extra sources of income especially if they don't have like family and friends who would be willing to donate to their page. I also think people need to be a lot more aggressive with their online fundraising. For example, even for me, like I posted incessantly for Giving Tuesday. I was posting every 3 hours on Facebook, on Instagram stories. Like I was posting everywhere. And I had at least 10 people who I don't talk to very much who donated to my page. So I think being really like incessant with, is that the right word? I don't know, whatever. Very like proactive about your fundraising as well. Group fundraising, just like Alyssa said, it's helpful, doesn't do too much. But I think really, really what comes down to is looking for grant resources. So even if your university itself does not offer any sort of grants for traveling, I think there's probably, I personally haven't done too much research on this, but I'm sure there's individual grants and donors out there who would be willing to sponsor something like this, whether it's applying for a grant, whether it's applying for a research grant too. I know a lot of universities do research grants, so maybe you tie it into a research project as well. Yeah, but I think also at the end of the day, staying positive about it. It's like, yes, we can do this. It can happen. And so hopefully if we stay positive about it, it'll only translate into other positivity from them as well. Any other comments on that one? No? Last burning questions?
Wait, I just have a comment about the last thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say it's totally doable. Like, anything is possible. You just have to be committed. And if people say that they're too busy, they don't care. Like, you can always find time to do something that you care about. Like last summer, we were struggling with fundraising for the exchange. Everyone already bought their plane ticket. So I was like, okay, we'll like do a little like summer series for one of our fundraisers that we already do. It's like the yoga and beer event. And that event was in Orange County, and I live in LA, and I took the train every single weekend. And like, I'm pretty sure I was one of the only ones that still went, but we had like a really good turnout. Like, we got like funding through that, but like I was the only one that went, and there were people that were like in Irvine even that were still like, oh, I can't go. And I was like, no, like, you just like not putting in the time. Like, I took the train. I hate the train, but I still did that. So it's totally doable. And like I guess you just need to like make people remember why they wanted to be in Panama, or like remember like why they like to teach dance and like why they dance, you know?
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because you missed the very, very beginning of our webinar, but we asked, Maeve asked, you know, why everybody has made a commitment to MoveX and why dance diploma is important to them. So I think it all really comes back down to the why. Why are we in this? Why are we taking times out of our schedule, and being reminded of that every day or as much as we can, I think will be really powerful. That is, I think, unless there's any burning, dying questions, I think that's about all we have time for. But I just want to say that I love you guys. And thank you all for being a part of this amazing network that can bring so much to you guys. And I hope that you all feel that this experience has helped you on a personal, professional, creative, whatever other level you can possibly think of. And I hope that you can use this in the rest of your lives and onto your next adventure as well. And hopefully we'll talk again soon. I'm going to be sending out also my personal email once like the transition is officially confirmed and everything like that. So you guys will have my personal email. You all have my Facebook as well. But I love you guys, and thank you for taking time out of your Fridays to hop on this last webinar with me. Love you, ladies.
I have something to say real quick.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you to you, Adele. You have been like such an awesome inspiration and help like throughout my time in Movement Exchange. And I'm sure you already know this, but like the way you like help us grow through this organization is awesome. And I'm going to miss you so much. And I know that there are a lot of people in my chapter that are going to miss you too. And I just want to say a big thank you, because you're awesome.
I wish I could give you a big hug. Thank you, Maeve. I love all of you. Tell everybody in your chapters, all of your chapters, even if I don't know them, that I love them, because they're a part of everything that this is. So yeah, thank you, Maeve, and everyone.
I want to second what Maeve said. You are really wonderful, and like just always so willing to help, and like you're really positive about all of our issues, which is really nice, because it like it can feel really frustrating in the moment, but you always have a suggestion for a solution to the problem, and so it's always really encouraging. And I'm gonna miss you a lot. Thanks so much.
Don't worry.
Love you.
Love you guys. Thank you all so much. Good luck with the rest of your semesters, and whatever else you need, send me an email, Facebook Messenger, whatever. And if any other ways I can support you while you still have me, use me while you still got me. So any questions, send them my way. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.